season 5 of Whatever She's Having with Linda Hoffner. This season, my bestie and co-host, Claire Sumadewiria, is taking a little break to focus on her campaign for Bellevue City Council. So I'll be inviting guests to the pod to talk about being fearless, showing up for ourselves, and being a champion for other women's success.
For over 30 years, I've called Bellevue home. As a mother of 3, a daughter, and a small business owner who experiences our city's challenges and opportunities firsthand. Bellevue stands at a crossroad between global innovation and local connection. Our strength comes from building bridges between corporate towers and family businesses, between longtime residents and newcomers with fresh perspectives. My priorities are clear: public safety, education, sustainable growth, and quality of life for all. These aren't partisan issues. They are Bellevue challenges, requiring collaborative solutions crafted together. As your appointed council member, I've worked to ensure every voice is heard, to build a Bellevue where everyone belongs, where global vision and local value strengthens each other. I'm Claire Sumadewiria, and I believe in a Bellevue that's together, innovative and inclusive, global and local. Let's build our future together. I'm Claire Sumadewiria. I'm running for Bellevue City Council.
This podcast is proudly presented by 425 Magazine, our amazing podcast partner who continues to support our platform of celebrating empowering friendships. Today, I am joined by our Mrs. Washington America 2025, Ryanna Cook. As a former Mrs. Washington America, I had the great pleasure of serving as a judge this year, and Ryanna was a standout from the beginning. I was looking for someone who would treat this title as a job, because it truly is a job, and that this woman would bring grace, service, and strength to the crown. I am thankful that my fellow judges saw what I saw in Ryanna, and she has been making Washington proud ever since earning her title back in March. So, gosh, time has flown. I cannot believe it was March.
So fast.
But welcome, Queen. I
you.
am so glad it worked out to have you here with me today.
I'm thrilled.
I'm sorry you don't get to meet my bestie and co-host.
We'll have to do another one.
We'll have to do another one because she's amazing and she's just off conquering her own
Wonderful goals, right?
Wonderful goals, yes. And this will actually air on Election Day. So I thought it would be fitting that on Election Day, when Claire is eagerly awaiting her campaign results, that we bring in somebody who knows a little bit about winning a competitive race. So I think it's a great episode to have you here with me. But tell me, how has life been since being crowned Mrs. Washington America?
I would say it's obvious to say busy.
Yeah.
I am someone I'm an entrepreneur. I'm heavily involved in my community, a mother, a dedicated auntie, obviously a wife. I have a lot of things to address and answer to, but I will say first and foremost, I'm a people person. So I absolutely love every opportunity to be out in my community, even if it's just for a meet and greet or supporting some other campaign or organization. I love learning from others and hearing stories, and engagement is so important to me. So I've been excited doing every bit of it.
That's amazing. And I think what I have truly enjoyed watching is that piece of your journey.
Thank you.
It's fun, the crown and winning and Mrs. America and all that, but at the end of the day, it's the legacy that you leave in your home state. And you know, despite having been the COVID queen, I really tried hard to do what you're doing and to be as out there as I could during COVID. And so I think it's been really fun for me to watch your journey and know that you've taken it as seriously as I thought you would. So I appreciate kind of what you've done for the crown and for our pageant system. you did not get the opportunity to meet our former director, Pam
Unfortunately.
Purnell.
Mhm.
She would have adored you. And that was something that I learned from her early on, was that this was more than just a pageant. It was more than just a crown. It was about empowering women to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And I think that the piece that struck me my first year competing, which was not the year I won. You won your first year, which is rare, which is very rare. So you're amazing. Was the sisterhood. And I've seen you guys create this too. And every year it's slightly different, and it's all kind of elevated by who the queens are that year and how they embrace that idea of sisterhood. But talk to me a little bit about that. And then what are some of your favorite moments thus far?
The sisterhood is definitely a big one for me, whether it's developing relationships with formers such as yourself, even learning that I need to use the word former instead of ex.
Please don't call me an ex.
That was a great lesson, so I learned fast. But I've developed relationships with women involved in the program, whether they have been title holders or not. Some people have surprised me. We can't help as humans to kind of take a step back and look at people as a book cover and see like, oh, would I be friends? And then you are with each other nonstop, and you're training together, and you're going through nervous things, and you're kind of terrified or you're really excited, and you learn how people align. And it's been amazing to develop really authentic and fun relationships with people who are also community oriented. I think that's the biggest part of it all, because I've always wanted to extend my own service into the groups of people in the circles that I run with, who've always had amazing, good hearts, but they're just like everyone else. They're busy, might not have the time for things. And being a part of the Washington pageant system and the Mrs. America system has shown me that there are a ton of women with a giant list of amazing achievements that like I fangirl over. So I'm excited to have these relationships and keep growing that.
Yeah. I remember feeling that way at Mrs. America when everybody was going around and you were reading who they were, or they were telling each other what they did for a living. And it was like, oh, you're like a badass.
Yeah, baddies. That's what I was saying the whole time.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, these are like legit women. So I'm glad to hear that you had that same experience, because I was floored at the caliber of women.
I'm like in love. I can just say that. I'm in love with so many women. So I think it was incredible, especially at nationals, to get to just be around women who are doing things that I dream of doing, or who view me in the same way, dreaming of what I have. And I just think it's fun because you're kind of in this realm where it's okay to sparkle and shine and not feel guilty and ashamed about it, because everybody's doing it and you're just uplifting each other. And it's really just elevated what fangirl means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think you really touched on a key point there, that it's okay to celebrate our successes, right? And
absolutely.
very rarely are we in spaces where that feels okay,
right?
Or doesn't feel like we're bragging somehow or trying to one up another. It's like, no, we're all here celebrating each other's successes, and quite frankly, like watching people be like, oh, I have a connection for you, and let me get you in touch with this organization. And that even happens, on when you're competing in your city title for the state, right? And everybody starts attending each other's events and fundraisers, and all of a sudden it becomes like this group project. And you're like, oh, I don't have to do this alone.
I love that. That's like one of my favorite parts of that too. So.
Okay, so favorite moments thus far, other than the sisterhood, like what are some standouts?
There's some standouts. Okay, a really kind of funny and odd one, because I didn't expect this kind of stuff to happen, but I was in Seattle doing a Mrs. Washington's Favorite Things kind of feature, and I grew up spending a lot of time downtown near Pike Place Market. I would ride the bus down from Madison, and I would do all the things. I'd go get my giant donut, and then I'd watch the fish guys trick people, right? So I had told my husband and my daughter, this is one of my favorite things, so we're going to feature this. And I let them know ahead of time I'd be there, and they kind of cleared the space so I can stand there and show it off. And then they surprised me with an apron and an invite to catch a fish.
Oh my gosh. Did you do that?
I did. I was
Oh.
wearing my sash. I was in a dress and I was like, but my sash and crown. And they immediately were like, we got you covered, Mrs. Washington. And it was one of those things where I was like, me? Like, I couldn't believe it. And so I got behind that counter and I caught the fish. It was
Nicely
hooked onto my
done.
finger. It slipped through, but I got it. And like the crowd was screaming. My husband was like screaming, and we got it filmed from a couple angles. So it was this fun, like slow motion catch. And I just couldn't believe like something like that would happen out of
Yeah.
it all because of those sparkles. But I will add on a more personal note, it's hard to pick an individual moment with the people that I've been with, but every time a child, whether it's a boy or a girl, it doesn't matter what age they are, if they're 3 years old up to 13 years old or even older, whenever they lock eyes with me, if I'm doing any kind of meet and greet or fundraiser or anything, it just is this, I know that just the presence of that sash and that crown is showing them the embodiment of this community-oriented, poised character who sees them for who they are and sees them as someone who can jump over any hurdle and make their life what they want it to be, as I did. And so I think every time I get to bend down and smile at a little girl and talk to her about how pretty her dress is because she's pulling on me, right? Those are worth every moment that I'm exhausting myself. It is exhausting, but it's worthwhile to me. But it's worth every moment that I'm spending putting on the makeup and getting myself put together for the appearance. I wouldn't trade it in.
Yeah. It's amazing what a crown and sash will do.
Yeah,
And
surprising, actually.
It's surprising.
Yeah.
And it's like, had you seen me yesterday in the
in K-troll mode is
and
what I call it.
hat, you would have literally looked the other way, right? And
right.
then today I'm in that presence of Mrs. Washington. I am in that embodiment of who that is.
Yes.
And you have like this level of authority and you're like, what do I do with this? Like, oh, it's shocking.
But it's also like the community, whether they knew about the pageant system or not, like some people knew, some people don't, but whether they know about it or not, it's like this cultural thing where they just know that if you have a title like that, it must mean that you're doing something good. And I think I like that assumption actually, because it opens the doors to them being like, what can I do to get involved, or how can I do what you're doing, or anything like that. So I think it's kind of cool to see that in action, you know?
Okay, let's talk about the flip side.
Okay.
What are some of the hardest lessons that you've learned?
I will say, as somebody who already lives a busy life, a lot of the things that I've had to apply to my pageant journey have been applied to my life. So there hasn't been a lot of newness as far as maybe struggles or challenges have gone. But something that I wasn't prepared for was the aftermath of winning Mrs. Washington. Not to diminish what survivor's remorse actually is. I know that people really suffer that in real dire situations. But there was this level of, I was standing on stage with friends, right? And then I got called and I detached my hands and I was the only one. And it became this thing where the next day I kind of had this like emotional hangover of like, my friends got left behind and I can't bring them all up with me. And I was looking at any of them as any one of them could have been Mrs. Washington, and I was ready to jump all over them and support their journey.
And it literally was any one of you.
Any one of us.
Amazing group.
And then on top of it, you know, there's this realization that people grieve differently as well. I never applied that to a pageant competition. I just thought in my mind that when it's done, it's done. And so I was kind of hit with negative aspects of how people felt about me winning. And I had to put out little fires almost immediately. And that was a harsh lesson because I really didn't expect that side at all. But I also didn't grow up in like competitive sports. I didn't grow up in a lot of competitive arenas. So I was not conditioned for that. So yeah.
It is a conditioned thing to have to get used to.
Yes.
And what you say is so true. You're almost alienating yourself right away, right? And it takes some getting used to, and it's almost like all that confidence that you just got from winning
Yes.
is diminished.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's like, what did I do?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're having to defend yourself sometimes.
Yes.
And it's like, why am I defending myself? I just showed up as who I was.
Yes.
Right. And I think that can certainly be a hard kind of setback initially.
Right.
I hope that you have come from that to gain more confidence and realize
Absolutely.
like just how everybody grieves differently.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, I think everybody comes back around
Mm-hmm.
and are prepared to support and
Absolutely.
and show love. But it's a hard thing. Losing is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't prepare you to lose.
No. And I think that in my own head, I'm a probability person.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew the rarity of a newbie winning her first year. And so in my mind,
you're doing the math.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Even being in the top and standing there with everyone, I was like, one of my friends is going to win. I had this kind of out of body experience where like, it's as if I was standing back watching one of them about to get called. And so it was a genuine, you can watch videos from all angles. It was a genuine, real surprise for me.
I was there, girl.
Yeah.
It was a surprise for you.
Exactly. Not because I felt undeserving, but because I'm a probability person. And so I was like, holy cow, I just kicked that probability with this. This is, what am I supposed to do next? And so I never looked past winning Mrs. Washington because I didn't know in my heart that it would work out. So when I was the next day signing paperwork and all that for nationals, I was like, whoa,
yeah,
I'm in it now.
Yeah. It was really interesting because I happened where the judges were was right in front of your family.
True.
And so when every time you came out, it was like this eruption of, and I was like, who are these people? Because that's all I could hear.
Yeah.
And I knew you obviously had a strong support because I could hear them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you won and your husband went to crown you, I think we all wanted to cry. Like he was like
a champion.
Yeah, like this is happening. And he was so excited for you. And then afterward on stage, like the amount of people who showed up for you.
I think I had over 40 people, and David, Pam's husband, he had told me it was one of the biggest crowds he had seen for people, which I was also unaware of.
I've been to every pageant since I've won, and the one I didn't win in the year before.
Yeah.
And that by far is the most for one person. And it's so interesting because it was like this foreign experience for me to watch because when I won, we were in a grass lawn outside. Right. We couldn't have our family. Like my husband was literally peering through a window of a hotel and I was crowning myself and all of that. And so to see the level of excitement for your family and friends that were there was really spectacular and heartwarming. And so I know that you've got this great support and that you've been supported by your family and friends throughout.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't diminish that it's hard.
Oh,
and there are hard days.
Absolutely.
When you question everything you've ever done.
Yes.
Yeah. So I commend you for that. I know it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to give you a moment to really talk about your platform of Breaking Cycles, because that was something that you showed up very strongly with to the pageant. And in the interview you and I had, we talked a lot about this. Can you kind of break down this life's work for us and talk about what is Breaking Cycles and why is it so important to you?
So Breaking Cycles it was like an automatic title. I just knew it was meant to be because my life's work, when I call it work, I mean it's my life experience. You do know some of the details, of course, but I grew up in scarcity, in poverty, abuse, and neglect. I had to be a pillar in my household through my mom's multiple mental diagnoses. I had to, even though I wasn't by age the oldest sibling, I behaved as the oldest sibling. And by the time I was 12 years old, I was going to parent-teacher meetings. The teachers in Lake Stevens, the police in Lake Stevens knew us very well. And I lived that life. I was the only one out of there were 4 of us girls, and I was the only one who didn't try to run away because I felt like it was my duty from such a young age to handle everything, to manage my mother's emotions, to make sure people were fed, even though I was just a kid and I didn't always do it right. I fought with my siblings like anybody else would. And so at 14 years old, I got my first job so I could pay for school clothes for me and my siblings. And as I got older, I would constantly question myself as, why is this happening to me, as most kids would. There were times where I begged and yearned to be taken out of that home. And, there was only so much they could do without separating siblings. And I learned that the hard way as well. And we had a small stint in foster care. And in my experience, that stint was really positive because it was with a really loving family. And I was actually really sad to have to leave them when we went back home. But by the time I was a teenager, I walked out of that house the moment I graduated high school with this vision of my life that I'm going to build my own path and become the person I want to be, because I knew who I didn't want to be. And a lot of people tend to think if you say that, you're going to end up being that. Not in my case. I meant what I said, and I took care of my siblings still through it all. And then when I became a young 20-something adult and got with my husband, we encountered one of the most difficult decisions that I realized my childhood built me to withstand. And it was essentially saving my biological niece from a life that could have meant death for her in the end. And she was a little baby. And so we took on the fight, quite literally kidnapping her. We went through all the notions with it all. And we went through the court system, multiple judges, we got our custody, and then we ended up years later, by the time she was 6 years old, getting adoption. And I realized that everything I had fought my whole life was like meant to be applied to intervening on behalf of children. And so fast forward to now, my daughter's 16 and a half.
And she is your only child.
She is our only. We also cannot procreate, but it is something we've accepted, and
But your life's mission was bigger than that.
Yes, my life's mission was bigger. And as I got other nieces and nephews, I've also had to kind of engage and step in on their behalf as well. Not in as heavy of an instance as my daughter, of course, but so I spent a lot of my adult life kind of tending to all of that before I finally got to this point where I was like, the kids are all right. Where else can I apply this strength? And so working as a nanny and preschool teacher also helped me roundabout my care for kids, and I started working for Crossing Thresholds in 2014, going across to Kenya, and firsthand seeing what life is like in the Kibera slum, and counseling children, teaching children, and really learning more from them than anything. I would come home every time with this new perspective that wow, living in a state of gratitude is super important, because I just saw what little they have to work with to succeed in life. And even though I had very little, it's nothing compared to what I've seen them go through, right? And so I wanted to expand that mission more, and I got involved more in my community. And breaking cycles is really, it is what I am. I had others intervene on my behalf, whether it is authorities like the police or school system or neighbors. I had neighbors pay our power bills. I had neighbors house me and my siblings in different, times of our lives. And I had people give me opportunities to, drive a loaner car so that I can work full time and pay for my own college. I had all of that going on. I've never forgotten the way people have intervened and given to me. And so I realized this is what I want to do. I want to inspire people to understand that you can intervene on behalf of those who can't make changes in their life, like young children who can't. So I started working within the foster care system, first as a CASA in training, and then schedule got all mixed up, so I couldn't keep doing that. But then I ended up working with Bridge Receiving Center, which is something I got to introduce you to.
Yes,
and I was very excited to bring you along to that because I knew it would tug your heartstrings.
Yeah.
And as you know, they work with kids who are pulled from these volatile situations that I once lived.
Yeah.
And so I'm very impassioned about it. I want these kids, just through basic mentorship, just through people coming in and listening to their stories and helping them feel like they can trust adults and build those relationships with them, that is intervention. Being a mentor doesn't require us to have, this huge certification or work for the Red Cross.
Anybody can be a mentor.
Anybody can be a mentor if you're there with a heart to do it. And so I also volunteer as much as I can in my busy life at their space, which I can't disclose where it's at, but I see different children of different ages and different backgrounds all the time. And it's unfortunate how much I can personally relate to when I'm listening to their stories.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm giving them this sense of trust and fun, and they get to be kids in that space, And so I fundraise and I advocate for Bridge so that we can expand programs like that, because it is a rare program.
It is.
It's expensive to use trauma-informed care, but they take a science approach, and it works. These kids actually want to come back to Bridge most of the time, and a few of them have even aged out of the system and now want to become Bridge volunteers, which I think is incredible. And
that's incredible. Yeah.
And I want that, and so that what they've been through is now inspiring them to pay it forward as it did for me. And so my cause with Breaking Cycles is to inspire people to know that it doesn't take a lot to intervene, to mentor, to bring a special resource, a teddy bear for a kid at Christmas. There's so many ways that you can show children in these circumstances that it's not their fault, that they're meaningful, and that they have a prospect to become anything they want to be. I am a multiple business owner. I employ others. I have my dream custom home. I get to travel the world. I get to do all of these things because I took the opportunities with those who intervened on my behalf, and I've paid it forward ever since. And I know that me, like myself, I'm a walking example of what can happen.
Yeah.
And so not only am I the embodiment of Breaking Cycles, but the actions that I inspire and that I see others doing all around me is Breaking Cycles.
What is your relationship like with your family now, and have they seen this opportunity as Mrs. Washington as a positive thing for you?
Yeah, I have the support. I do have a strange family that I don't know if they know about this at all. My mom is no longer with us. I have no idea how she would feel about it now, but I do have a couple siblings, including my daughter's biological mom, who are very supportive.
So you're still...
I'm still connected. Definitely for both of us, it has to be at a distance, and she understands that as well. We're both loving towards each other. We both love each other. But there's just seasons of life that you have to kind of have a distance. And then my oldest sister, who currently lives with me, she's like a huge support. She's the reason why...
She's the one I met.
Yes.
She's a ray of sunshine.
She's the reason everybody had Ryanna t-shirts actually at the Washington pageant.
Yes. She really loves you.
She does, and I feel it and see it every day.
Yeah.
And I hear from her directly all the time that I've inspired her as well, and that was never my aim, but it's a full circle moment to know that I had worked as hard as I did as a youth to help my siblings thrive in life, and then now we're 40-something adults, and she's able to come back around and say, wow, like, this is really who you are, this is what you've always done, and I'm here for it. Yeah.
And it's also wonderful to see not just a queen, but a person like walk the talk, right?
Yes.
Like there's so often, and so many misconceptions about pageantry in general that could be a whole nother episode.
Absolutely. That's the episode I'll come back for.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe when you're an ex.
Yes. Former.
I already have an ex, I don't need that, so I'll just be a former. But I think because of that stigma, people don't really realize like the depth of women who participate in programs like this, and that oftentimes it's a healing journey for us of whatever it is that we've been struggling with. Your platform really took on a life of who you were and what you needed to survive and thrive. And mine was very similar, and mine was about, elevating women in business. And I can't tell you the amount of growth from when I was Mrs. Washington and kind of creating that
Mhm.
platform, as we call it,
Mhm.
and what that's done for me 5 years later.
It's immeasurable.
It's immeasurable.
Yeah.
And what you will continue to grow into as you go beyond. You know, they always say being a former is way more fun, and it is, because nobody's watching you anymore. But there's so much more growth that happens when you
Yes.
get to step back from
Mhm.
that, and that level of reflection
Yes.
is so key. So I'm really excited to see how you continue
Mhm.
from here. I'm going to tell you, because this is also something that isn't talked about, that the transition is hard.
I believe it. I'm kind of mentally preparing for it.
It is hard. You are so tired
Mhm.
and ready to hand off the crown to another woman, because of course we want our sisterhood to grow.
Mhm.
But nobody tells you what that's like backstage when they say you have to take your crown off now
Mhm.
and you never get to wear it again.
Just quietly in my bedroom in front of my mirror.
Yeah, or loudly in your bedroom,
Yeah,
like
that
me.
too.
But it's like, okay. And I've had to now have had this opportunity to have these conversations with, you know, many of our formers now. And I personally had to like set up a goal for myself so that I had something to look forward to.
Yes.
Because as you and I are very busy people, and even busier during our queenship,
Mhm.
that piece of your identity, it never goes away,
Mhm.
but it alters.
Mhm.
And so I guess my thing for you is like, live every moment of this. And I know you have
What
been,
I'm trying for.
but with that lens of you are still a queen when you retire.
Mhm.
I like to call it retirement.
Love that.
Because it'll be a long time until I can actually retire.
Yeah.
But when you retire from pageantry, know that that energy and effort is still seen by others, and that while the transition is hard and you're going to go through some like, what now? The giving back to the contestants, which I know you already do so well,
Mhm.
is life-giving.
Yes, I believe it.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you want people to know about this pageant organization and the impact that it's had on your own journey?
I just want them to know that despite it being, unnerving or scary, if you've especially never done it before, that it's transformative. I went into it already having built myself into a confident person, walking in heels, doing all these things. I learned that walking in heels and turning your head in another direction
is really hard.
Was actually difficult for me.
Yeah.
And it was really funny. It was funny that I was like, wow, this is something I need to learn, is looking in another direction while walking. But that aside, I was really nervous for the things I'd never done before, like dancing on stage. I'd never done that before. I'm a club dancer. I know how to get down with a rhythm, but choreography, all of that terrified me. And I also knew that a lot of the women had done this before or had grown up in cheer, dance, or things like that. And so I couldn't help but to compare myself to people I hadn't even met yet, because I didn't want to look like the fool.
Yeah.
And I think that's very human. So when I put myself through the agonizing hour-long drive to get to the first dance training, I was in my head the whole time, talking about like, why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And I knew that wasn't even a judged part.
Yeah.
So it's funny when you realize the things that you kind of trick yourself out about. And then I showed up and the sun came out, and my hype song, I know the name of it, David Bowie, Golden Years. Yeah. There's a line that he sings in that's never look back, walk tall, act fine. And I kind of live by that line. It's always, I've carried it with me.
It's a great line.
Yeah, I've carried it with me. And that was playing as I was pulling into that parking lot. And I was like, all right, this is meant to be. I'm here now. There's no going back. And in the end, there was so much refinement. That's the word I love to use for this. There was so much refinement about how to speak things into existence, how to answer questions in 20 seconds or less.
It's a hard skill.
Yeah. And as an employer, I've hired and fired people. I know what it's like to sit in an interview situation many times over, but it's different. You're not timed when you're sitting in those interviews. So even just like refining those skills of conversation, learning how many times I said and so
When I watch these, I realize how many times I say
Right.
and I'm like, Linda.
And I wish I could never say them at all, but I do. But I've done it far less now. That's what I love. I do love like the clarity in speaking, and I thought I was a pretty clear speaker before. So I had a lot of like self-realizations that I was excited to meet her. I was excited to meet the new me as I was leading up to the pageant. And then afterwards, I was excited to meet the version of me, whether I won that crown or not.
Yeah.
You know, I knew that there was like benefits to both.
Yep.
So, and then when nationals came along, I had zero nerves. And I mean it when I say that. I had zero nerves because my personality type is when I try something once and survive it, I have no reason to ever convince myself I can't do it again.
Yeah.
So I don't, if I try something once and it succeeded in some way or another, I approach it again as like, well, I've done this before, so why would I be scared of it?
Yeah.
And so when I went to nationals, I was thrilled. I was so excited to show up every day and challenge my values. So I challenged my values of, you know, being timely and being honest and standing my ground on things and setting boundaries and how I'm kind to people. All these things were tested throughout the whole,
it's a test.
what, 10 days I was there for. And I didn't walk away with a top 15. I didn't walk away with another crown, but I stood on that side stage. It was me and Mrs. Wisconsin, Tamika, who's incredible, who stayed together on the side of that stage and watched it finish out. A few of the other women ended up coming up near the end, but I couldn't even sit. I was so excited to watch my new friends finish up. I was jaw dropped at Paige Ewing's answer. I was like, she's genius. This is amazing.
It's so fun to watch.
Yes. And so like I was thrilled no matter what, because I walked away having proven to myself that I am who I say I am, because I was tested and I passed all my tests.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was a win all on its own. And then I also walked away with new friends and networking and tools and lots of cool fashions. I've already passed them along to some of our delegates. And so like all of that was just so exciting. And long story short, the whole experience, the transformative side of it, and now post nationals where I get to keep living out, representing my home state and everything I love about this state. It's a treasure. And before I even came here today, I answered to that. Somebody asked me, how do you feel about it being almost over? And I said, you know what? I knew it would be time consuming based on how I want to live it. It doesn't have to be time consuming, but how I want to live it, it's time consuming. And I was like, but I knew I only had a year of this, and I'm willing to put myself through it because I want to have the absolute best photo album of memories of this time of my life, my sparkle year.
Yeah.
So
sparkle year.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I equated nationals to the most intense, amazing women's conference with hair, makeup, and sparkles.
Yes.
I was like,
and
who doesn't
nobody
wanna
felt
go to
over or
this?
underdressed because
Yeah.
it was so individualized.
Yeah.
And everybody was just like glam squatted. And you're like, this is a dream. When people are like, you had to change so many times a day. I said, yeah, I
was
got
super fun.
to change so many times a day. I loved it.
You should see my suitcases. Oh, okay. So this is a part of the show that we do rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So you did not get these before.
Okay.
But it's just fun based on
I've
things
been
I
here
know
with you
about
before.
you. Yeah. Okay. What is harder, winning a pageant or jumping into a bat-filled cavern? Because I know you've done both.
Winning the pageant.
Now that says a lot. Okay, ball gowns or Halloween costumes? Which is your favorite to wear?
Why do you have to say this? Definitely my style of Halloween costumes.
You have an incredible Halloween, like your photo album for Halloween alone is
oh my gosh,
epic
embodying
worthy.
Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday this year was a dream come true.
I loved that. I love that. Mariners game or Seahawks game?
Seahawks, but I am going to say this. I used to get bored at Mariners games, and I tell you.
Ain't bored no more.
No, they were exciting, so I was very happy.
I saw you got to go to some of those late games, which was awesome. Okay, favorite post-pageant meal?
I'm not supposed to eat pizza because I'm allergic to dairy and gluten and tomatoes.
But who doesn't love a slice
But
of
I'm
pizza?
going to say pizza.
Yeah. It is classic pageant meal,
Yes.
actually. Okay, we also end every episode with a quote.
Okay.
This one is sweet and simple and by an actress, Meg Ryan, who I adore.
Love Meg.
And she said, if you empower women, you can change the world.
1,000%.
And I think it's been quoted by many people saying that. But empowering women can set remarkable change in motion. When one woman rises, and others are inspired to follow, which is really the epitome of this pageant organization.
Yes.
I also know that confidence multiplies when nurtured within a strong sisterhood.
Yes.
So thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Thank you for being a queen that others can look up to.
Thank you.
And thank you for being my friend.
I love it.
Okay. We'll see you next time. Bye.